retiring today. And I want everyone to know how much I appreciate the support, the incredible, undiminished support I've received across the years from my supporters.
Speaking from a hospital bed, that was Congressman John Conyers of Detroit talking to Radio 1's Mildred Gaddis on WPZR-FM in Detroit, where he announced yesterday he is retiring from Congress. Now, the 88-year-old lawmaker has been hospitalized since last week, which of course his camp says due to stress related to the recent wave of sexual misconduct allegations alleged against him by former staffers. He is adamant that none of that took place, but he is still stepping down.
Do you still maintain that the allegations that have been leveled against you are false?
Whatever they are not accurate or they're not true, and I think that they are something that I can't explain where they came from.
Do you think that these allegations at all will impact that legacy?
Oh, absolutely not. My legacy can't be compromised or diminished in any way by what we're going through now. This too shall pass.
In a statement read by Houston Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee on the House floor, Conyers said he made his decision based on his poor health, but also because he was not getting due process.
Given the totality of the circumstance of not being afforded the right of due process in conjunction with current health conditions and to preserve my legacy and good name, I am retiring. I cannot allow the great work of this body to be distracted by their important work or from their important work or the goals of the Democratic Party to be distracted.
Of course, now Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee last week ticked off a number of CBC members, according to Politico, when she aligned with Monica Conyers, Congressman John Conyers' wife, that scuttled him a deal of him retiring last week, per Politico. A lot of CBC members are very upset with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. She would not address any of those issues. As I said, Congressman John Conyers has endorsed his son, John Conyers III, to fill the vacancy once Michigan Governor Rick Snyder picks a date for a special election. Yet, there could be drama in the Conyers family. Congressman John Conyers' great-nephew, Michigan State Senator Eon Conyers, announced he was planning to also run for the seat. Conyers, of course, is 53 years in office, and up until his retirement yesterday was the longest-serving active member of the United States Congress. His many achievements include being the co-sponsor of the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act, co-founder of the Congressional Black Caucus in 1969. Joining us via Skype from Detroit is Arnold Reed, attorney for Congressman John Conyers. Arnold, this has obviously been a process that has played out over the past week or so. It escalated when, of course, Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, also House Speaker Paul Ryan, and, of course, Congressman Jim Clyburn, the highest-ranking African-American in Congress, all called for Congressman Conyers to resign. Take us through this process of him reaching this decision to retire.
Sure, Roland. Let me address something that you said, though, that was in the Politico briefly. First of all, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee did not do what Politico is accusing her of doing. The only thing Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, along with Congresswoman Maxine Waters, were concerned about was that due process be conducted with regard to the congressman. There were no backdoor deals. There were no side deals cut. That is absolutely false, and I am appalled at whomever put that false propaganda out, because it is simply not true. Here's what happened, Roland. The congressman was in the hospital. We went through 3 or 4 thick notepads of decision-making, or in the decision-making process. At the end of the day, the congressman made his decision based on his health, based on his family, based on whether or not he thought he could still be effective rolling with these false allegations swirling around. By the way, we refuted every one of them. So those were the things that the congressman made his decision on. It had nothing to do with Sheila Jackson Lee. It had nothing to do with Maxine Waters. It had nothing to do with anyone except the individuals and constituents that elected him, and he had those individuals in mind as long as what was best for the country, Roland.
But Arnold, obviously, these allegations, obviously 3 weeks ago, it was not Congressman John Conyers' plan to retire from Congress. These allegations certainly had to play the pivotal role in pushing him to this decision.
No, it wasn't a pivotal role, Roland, because they were false. Let me make that clear. It wasn't the pivotal role. What the pivotal role was his failing health in conjunction with he felt that it would become a distraction for him to serve and the effect on his family.
But Arnold, here's the deal. Here's the deal. If somebody accused me of something, if somebody accused, hold on, one second. If somebody accused me of something, and I flat out did not do it, and I said I am absolutely innocent, I'm standing still, standing strong, fighting tooth and nail, because I believe in integrity and character. And so I understand failing health, but the reality is if I just flat out feel I did not do it, I'm standing there to fight. I'm not leaving.
That sounds good, Roland. But first of all, you've never been involved in politics, to my knowledge, and politics at this level. In politics, Roland, perception is everything. It's not about whether you're guilty or innocent. It's about the perception. And if you have a perception swirling around you, even though you know you didn't do anything, that has to be a consideration. And in this particular case, with all these allegations, all these women coming forward, the press didn't want to hear, Roland, about the women that came forward and said the congressman did not do these things, that were eyewitnesses. Everybody in the press is condemning the congressman, but they don't want to hear the truth. So when you have a one-sided situation, it has to be a consideration. I know, I'm a journalist, a former journalist, before I became an attorney. I know exactly how the press works. It is the perception that matters, and it's not news when dog bites man. It's news when man bites dog.
Last question for you. Do you believe that it is a double standard to have Congressman Blake Farenthold, a Republican, pay an $84,000 settlement to a woman who accused him of sexual harassment, and Nancy Pelosi and Paul Ryan and others not call for him to resign from Congress?
More than that, Roland, it's an American tragedy when you have Nancy Pelosi not advocating for due process. And the only thing that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee did, like Maxine Waters, is advocate for due process. There were no backdoor deals, and it's a damn shame when the Democratic Party cannot stand up for the former dean of the House. That is a damn shame. That's what it is.
All right, Arnold Reed, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
I want to go to my panelists. Ray Baker, host of the Public Agenda podcast. Greg Carr, chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Derek Holley, president of Reaching America. First question, do you believe that Congress, and although Congressman John Conyers said his legacy would not be impacted by this at all, do you agree?
I think, Roland, ultimately we have to be Americans who can both walk and chew gum. The impact that the congressman has had on the United States and the legislation that he's put forth is undeniable. But also, if these things, as we find out more information, come to be true, we have to take the women. If we take the women for their word, then we have to also understand that great people can do terrible things. And in America, so often we have these false binaries: either you're good, either you're bad, either you're this, either you're that. But if we allow people to be human and take them on their whole, then we can understand that the congressman's legacy will be complex, but have indeed great contributions for Americans, particularly Black Americans.
Absolutely, but the bottom line is, Greg, it does impact his legacy at the end of the day.
It does, it does. The answer is yes and no. Beyond the Black community, it will forever tarnish his legacy. It's going to be the first line in his obituary. In the Black community, add him to the list, the long list of Black politicians, flawed human beings who have done some incredibly good work, and it won't diminish it as much. You know, something that he told Mildred Gaddis yesterday, one of the last things he said, in fact, on the radio was that he's calling to open up all the investigative files, open them up. Blake Farenthold, as Jim Clyburn said, Paul Ryan, who no one will accuse of having a spine, has been silent. Sure. And because at the end of the day, the CBC was in an impossible situation. John Conyers had to go. We all know his health had been failing, but when you see Orrin Hatch, who doesn't seem to know where he is half the time, and his staff is whispering in his ear, he didn't have to go anywhere. Why? As a white man, he's got the gold standard of humanity. John Conyers was sacrificed on the altar of American democracy, not without cause, but the question becomes, when is everybody else going to have to live up to the black standard?
And Derek, that's the piece here, because to have folks say, well, $27,000, I get it. Republican Blake Farenthold.
I agree.
$84,000 in taxpayer money. I'm just trying to see, are national media outlets camped outside of his office, camped outside of his home? Are they pressuring Speaker Paul Ryan to condemn him and to call for him to resign?
I think it's a double standard. Absolutely. And if you've been accused with these allegations, you all need to step down, whether you're Democrat, Republican, white, or black. And I feel like Conyers has been signaled out. But the thing about it is, the bigger issue is, I think the reason why he is singled out, the Democrats won't lose anything by who they replace him with. They're going to still have the same seat, the same person
in the short term.
In the short term,
2020 census, they're going to lose the congressional district. That's
and
right.
so that being said, whereas with Franken, I don't think you hear the outcry as much because they need that Senate seat. And so again,
so what you're saying is it has nothing to do with the actual issue.
That's right.
All of a sudden, I keep calling this is situational ethics.
That's right.
This is situational politics.
That's right. Well, Roland, I mean, like we said, they got 14 congressional districts in Michigan. In the 2020 census, they could lose one. The Republican governor is going to have to call a special election, or he can wait till May. It costs $1 million to bump it up. You're right. They're not going to lose in the short term, but again, on the national level, when you got Roy Moore running around and Steve Bannon down there campaigning for him, there's only one standard in this country, and that's white supremacy. No, because in Minnesota, Al Franken, if Franken steps down, it's a safe seat for the Democrats because you got a governor out there who reported Democrat, and they can have an election Democrat would be put into place. But Al Franken too is a white man. Sure. I mean, so even within the Democratic Party, you've got white politics. I mean, all these white politicians, Nancy Pelosi included, who are going to sacrifice John Conyers on this altar. It put the CBC in an impossible situation. Yeah. They are indeed the conscience of the Congress, whatever that means. Why? Because black folks got to be held to the highest standard in humanity, except when it comes to letting people have the benefit of the doubt.
Again, this is what I want to know. Chuck Todd had Nancy Pelosi on Meet the Press on Sunday, where he pressed her. She made comments calling him an icon. Folks trashed her. She immediately came out and said it's time for him to go. Again, will Chuck Todd have Speaker Paul Ryan on the show asking him the same questions? Will other media outlets have Paul Ryan asking the same questions? See, this is just very simple. If you got Blake Farenthold sitting over there where $84,000 in taxpayer money was used, and last I checked, that's about 3 times more than what was in the Conyers case, will Congressman Farenthold be pressured to resign by Republicans? I dare they won't say a damn thing.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.